Another way to use a similar technique, and this coming up is actually my favorite technique, goes to the question, do I control my destiny? So one of the things that you will have with the toughest kids is kids who say, Dr. Ken, when your time comes, your time comes. You know, bullets are flying, and you're just going to, you just do what you take to survive. The problem with that is that it's not true. So the conversation I'll begin having is, yeah, it's really scary out there. I'm not lying to you. You know, I get scared myself. I have 2 girls, and I want to live for a really long time and see their grandchildren. But I know that I can't control everything that's out there. Well, that's true, Dr. Ken. That's exactly what I'm saying. I mean, and then I say, you know, hell, I know that I could be crossing the street sometime and a bus is going to hit me and I could get killed. It's exactly what I'm saying. It's why you got to just live fast, right? And I know I could walk between 2 buildings and get struck by lightning. Exactly. Or you could get killed in a drive-by. I mean, life is scary. It's exactly what I'm saying, Dr. Ken. It's why you just do what it takes. You take care of your family and you do what it takes. I hear you, man. But you know what? I got to tell you something. If I walk out on the street and I look down the street and I see a bus coming to my ass, I back up, okay? I got to tell you something else. Sometimes I have to go between 2 buildings, even if it's raining. But if there's a big thunderstorm, I don't say to someone, hey, give me a big metal pole, and I don't find myself in the places where the most violence is. Life is scary, and I'm not going to lie to you, but you play the odds, and that's all that I'm talking about. That conversation alone can bring people to tears. Here's another dramatic example. I apologize for my examples being so dramatic, but this is my life. It's your job to imagine what they look like in a classroom. I use real-life examples and therefore can't put them in your context. So you've got to do the extrapolation. This is a girl who is 14 years old also. Don't be surprised that a lot of my examples are 14. Why? This is the most dangerous age for children, right? They've got adult-driven hormones, adult strength bodies, and child minds. All right? Are you guys, by the way, up to date on the teen brain and what's happening in the teen brain? Have you been taught this enough? If you feel like you need more, raise your hand. Okay, so I will probably do 5 minutes on this when we're done this story, if you remind me. So this girl wants to be an architect when she grows up. She's utterly brilliant. She's smarter than me, hands down. She wants to be an architect so she can build buildings for poor kids to keep them off the streets. She's amazing. She's also in a girl gang, which is run by her 16-year-old cousin. And her 16-year-old cousin has shot and killed 2 people already, but never been caught. This girl wants to break the gang badly, but every time that she does try to, the cousin always says the same thing, which is, this is family. You can't go against family. So I do and say everything that I know how to do and say, and this is an old story where before I was involved in resilience, there were 2 areas of study. One was trust and one was youth violence. So I'm the youth violence guy, and I kept trying everything, and she kept saying, you don't know what you're talking about, and I would try something else, and she'd say, you don't know what you're talking about. I said, excuse me, I'm an internationally respected expert on youth violence. What does it mean if a kid says you don't know what you're talking about? It means you really don't know what you're talking about. It's that simple. It means you're not the expert in the room. And I said, well, here's what I know. Here we are today. I call this the ladder diagram. Here we are today, and you're running with gangs, and it scares me because I'm seeing 2 possible futures for you. One is where I want you to go, right? You could become an architect. You could build buildings for kids. You could really change this community. And I know I want you to get there. But I know that there's this other future as well, which is you're being in a gang and you're dying. And not only dying, but you're bringing other people along you. And I know that it's my job to get you over there and to prevent you from going over there. But I'm spent. I don't know how to do it. But this is what I know. There are 2 roads leading in each direction. And that along those roads, there are several steps. And when you look far in the distance, sometimes you can't even imagine what those steps are. But when you think about just 1 step at a time, sometimes you can get to the end and it's not as overwhelming. So what do you think you have to do to die? And she said, that's easy. I have to keep doing exactly what I'm doing. And I said, stop looking at the distance. Just look right here and tell me what you could do to make it more likely for you to live. Just one step. And she thought about it. She thought about it. She couldn't come up with anything. Remember I told you I'd do this on the roll paper? I ripped this off. I'm beginning to throw it away. And she's like, what are you doing? And I said, I'm throwing this away. And she said, don't throw that away. That's my map to a positive future. I invited her back. I said, will you come back next Tuesday? And your entire job is just to fill in that one bottom rung. And she said, okay. She comes back in next week. She takes it out of her knapsack. And her exact words were, Dr. Ken, I failed you. And I said, what do you mean? She said, I took this out every day, and I thought about this, but I can't come up with anything. I guess I'm going to die. What would you say now? You showed up. What I said is, you came back to hear a little man talk to you, and you don't think you're on the positive road. And at that moment, demoralization was broken. At that moment, she realized that she had control. Okay, her sense of control returned, and then it was verbal diarrhea. And then what she said is, Dr. Ken, you know, you might think my mom's trash, right? Because I'm in a gang and everything, and you might think that it's because my mom's not good, but the truth is my mom's a great lady. Do you know that if I go to school, if I go become an architect, do you know that I have to go to school after school? And I got a little brother and a little sister, and she wants all of us to go to college. She's working 3 jobs. That's why she doesn't know what we're doing. But you know who else loves my mom? My cousin loves my mom. What do you think would happen if I began hanging out with my mom? Do you think my cousin would let me do that? Because that's still family. Great idea. Bring your mother in next week. So now, in this strength-based communication, it's not just about kids. It's also about parents, right? So now you're going to bring the mother in and you're going to give her bad news. Bad news like your child is pregnant. Bad news like your child's in a gang. Bad news like, I do not consider this bad news in any way, shape, or form, but your kid's gay, which a mother might interpret at first as bad news. Your kid's on drugs, all of these things. So what are the emotions that are happening in the mother's mind? Okay, well, let's back up. So the first thing that happens is you say to a kid, I'd love to be able to talk to your mother about this. The child then says, she'll kill me. Then you have to say, what do you mean by that? And it's going to divide out into 2 categories. There's going to be the cases where you're really going to find out that the mother's going to be abusive or the mother's going to kick them out. This is why confidentiality exists, and we have systems for this. Okay? The vast majority of kids, it's going to be, she's going to be so disappointed in me. In which case you say, I know how to give news to parents. And this is the way you do it, the way I'm saying it. So now I get permission from the kid to tell. The mother's now in the room. Tell me what are the emotions in the room when the mother is about to be told bad news. Fear, panic, anxious, scared. What? Guilt. That's the one I was looking for. Shock, guilt, anger, fear. Okay? What you cannot do is take away anger. And what you can't do is take away shock. The only thing you can do is take away guilt. Now let's put this in a larger context. If you're going to be working with people from historically oppressed populations, we're talking now about poor people, particularly about minority people. Let me tell you who you are. You are the man. Whether you're a woman, whatever you are the man. So am I. And historically, and I'm talking 25 years ago, not in the very far distance, when the man determined that a parent was unfit, which was done in a big way discordantly for minority folks, what happened? The children were taken away. That is the historical trauma that we walk into every time we are talking to a parent, particularly from a marginalized background. All right? So what we have to do is take all of that out of the room. Because if you don't, then what happens is the mother has learned to blame the child. Because if she is seen as an unfit mother, then there are bad implications for the family. It's why the mother will say things like, didn't I tell you to keep your legs closed? Didn't I tell you that Uncle Billy died of drugs and that if you ever did drugs, you were out on your ass? There is this announcement and pronouncement of everything that the mother has ever demanded of the child, and it puts the kids under the table. That's what you don't want to have happen. Instead, ma'am, thank you so much for coming in. I have to tell you, I work with teenagers all the time, and I sometimes know what's going on in their lives before parents do. And then every mother goes, well, that's wrong, I'm the mother. I understand, ma'am, why you feel that way, but part of the reason that we have this set up is so that kids who don't have parents who are there or around or can talk to them, that they can talk to another adult who cares and is able to keep privacy. But I have to tell you something, those rules, they don't apply today. You know, I was talking to your daughter, and do you know what Shelly told me? Shelly said to me, yeah, my mom blows off steam sometimes, but she always sticks by me, and I need her today. Ma'am, I would do anything in my power to make it so that every kid actually had a mother that they could talk to about anything. Thank you, thank you, thank you. At this point, every mother puts her arms around her child and says, that's right, darling, you've always known you could come to me for anything. Now what you've done is you've taken away shame, you've taken away guilt, now you break the news. And then the mothers will follow exactly the instructions, which are blow off steam and stick by your child. Now, instead of, you're out of my house because you're pregnant, what you're going to get is, you're pregnant. It's okay, darling, we can get through anything because you've given them the instructions. Trust me, this works like a charm, okay? So I did this with this mother, and the mother was brilliant. And the mother what she ended up doing is they ended up using code word, so that when the girl was in a gang-related situation, she would drop code word, the mother would call back and say, hey, guess what, I have a shift off work, hang out with me. And as a result, the girl ended up not having to go to the areas of gang affiliation while the mother was looking for a new home and moved from West to Southwest Philadelphia, all right? And this girl made it to college, all right? So this diagram, very simply, two futures, break those mountains into hills, figure out one step at a time, is so empowering to give kids control back in their lives.